single day.
Toll-free, 888-441-1580. You can email us. The address ccspeaks@live.com. Check out our Charlotte County Speaks Facebook page. And you can listen to us streaming live on the web at WCCFAM.com. Joe from the Show to Sayo in the house. Yo, Charlotte County Commissioner.
Good morning, Ken.
And you brought a friend.
I brought a friend.
I like I said, did a show a few weeks ago and was hoping you were going to call in, but you were, I don't know, peeing away taxpayer money at some convention in Tampa.
That's right.
Drinking heavily.
But I took your call. I took your call.
You did get it, but you didn't call in.
But you invited me on the show.
I did invite you on the show to talk about how the code and zoning are just they're quadrupling the fines, are going after everybody. There's no reason to appeal at all because you have a friendly judge in your corner, and you're just raping the citizens of Charlotte County.
Well, I know
who refuse to mow their lawn.
Well, I was listening to the show, and I know, we were called the your local lovable tyrants, and I figured, Ken, I love you so much, I'm just going to come in here upon request, and educate, and I came in here this morning. You didn't even know I was coming in.
I forgot all about. I was sick last week. I mean, I told you, I completely forgot that I even invited you.
Where's the love? I mean.
I didn't put you on my schedule.
I wasn't on your schedule?
I wasn't on my schedule.
Well, I brought in county staff member Sean Cullinan. He is
Sean,
our zoning.
I'm great. How you doing, Ken?
Good.
He's our zoning official, so he's he's in charge of this.
So
debacle.
he's the tyrant.
He's the guy. He's the guy that I blame when things go wrong.
That's the nicest thing I'm usually
really
called.
okay.
Yeah.
But no, I know there was some concern about code compliance and the new.
Well, it was the
schedule.
way that the Wink story was presented. It was presented in such a way that that's what people think. Oh, they're just jacking up the fines. They're going after everybody. They're bringing in this friendly judge. And man.
Well, we have a special magistrate. He's been around for a couple of years.
3 years.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years now. And prior to that, it was a committee of local folks that were appointed to that to the board. But we went to a special magistrate, for efficiency reasons, because we had to move some of these cases through and for consistency. Because a lot of these things, there's technical aspects related to code compliance, and you really have to have a good grip on the code, and a lot of it comes from the statutes, But Sean can probably speak a little bit more as to the code compliance, and the fine schedule has been around for a long time. They have never been adjusted, and the cost to work these code compliance cases through the system far exceeds the $25 fine. But I think what people need to understand is what I read in the paper and online on Facebook. There's a belief that code compliance goes out, looks for people. There's an army of code and just writes tickets and fines right off the bat, and that's not how it works. I wanted Sean to speak about the process.
Retired security guards with a chip on their shoulder.
But I just wanted Sean to speak a little bit about the process and how code compliance is supposed to work.
Right. Again, that's probably one of the nicest things they get called, especially out in the field. The only area, we have two areas where code compliance officers are proactive. Parkside, which is a community redevelopment area, and the reason for that was because of the boundaries that were set in trying to revitalize that area, as well as our commercial areas. That was based on citizen issues. So the citizens are what request these things. 95% or so of our cases are reactive. Excuse me. They're based on complaints. Neighbors have tolerances. They know Joe down the street. Yeah, he's a slob, but we love him. But then a new person moves in and is like, I don't like Joe being a slob. I'm going to call code compliance. People love us or hate us. They love us when we can go clean up their neighbor's property. They hate us when they're the ones being called on. So we're damned if we do, damned if we don't. The process is very statutory, so we have to follow state law very, very closely, and it's a very judicial process. And that was one of the reasons why we did go to a magistrate a couple of years back, was because they were potentially running afoul of not strictly following the law in terms of consistencies.
And
like
due process.
Correct.
Yeah. Now, kind of take us through how this whole process works. Whether it's reactionary, or whether it's you guys are going out there looking for the problems, or you wait until someone calls in. Take us through the whole process.
Okay, well, we'll do a call-in. Somebody calls in that their neighbor's yard is all junked up. So we send out an officer to just do a drive-by. If they see junk, they're going to stop. They're going to, knock on their door and say, hey, we received a complaint about junk-like conditions, whatever the complaint might be. We need to start working together to get this fixed. Sure. So there's not even a written warning or anything given at that time. It's just face-to-face interaction. We go in, we log it into our system. We go back out a couple weeks later. We'll tell them we'll be out in a month to check on the progress. If we go out there in a month and they're working towards it, they're getting it cleaned up, maybe a little slow, we'll give them some more time. We're not out to beat people up. We're really, really not. If they're just not doing anything, basically flipping us the bird, then we'll do the formal notice of violation, and we'll give it to them, and that'll start the formal clock of, okay, you now have 30 formal days to do this.
So let me be clear. So when you go out initially on a call, you do your drive-by based on, in this instance, a complaint.
Yep.
So you go by, you knock on the door, you tell them, hey, we think you're out of compliance. Can you clean it up?
Yep.
So that is basically a freebie.
Yeah.
You're saying, hey, so you're not going out writing a ticket saying, here's your fine, go pay it.
No.
Okay, because
which is, in my experience, has always been the case.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
It is.
So you give them the 30-day window. As long as they're working on it, you can grant an extension.
Yep.
Nothing is even written at that point because there might be some hardship cases. The situation may be something that can't be addressed in that initial 30 days. So as long as they're working towards coming into compliance, you work with them.
Exactly.
Okay. So take it from there. So because people are out there saying code compliance officers are writing
They
fines.
just showed up and gave me a ticket.
Yeah.
Right. Now, some people, there are licensing folks that are a different part of our department that if there's unlicensed contracting, things like that, then they will write a ticket.
But that's a different scenario.
Yeah. Right. So we'll give them, they haven't done anything. So we give them the notice of violation. You got X number of days to do it formally. They still don't do anything, then we set them for hearing with the magistrate. If they realize, oh wow, that was the shot across the bow, I need to take this seriously, and they start cleaning, then again, we'll work with them.
Sure.
We continue to work with people. That's why people want it to go faster, but we just want compliance. We just want the stuff fixed. So if people are working towards it, they might be older, they might not have a lot of money, whatever the reason might be, most people aren't out there purposely junking up their yard just to get a rise out of the county or their neighbors.
So I just want to be clear. So I've seen cases when they go before the hearing examiner, again, due process, gets to hear the person who was not the complainant, but the
violator.
The violator. And even then they won't get fined. Sometimes I'll hear the hearing examiner say, okay, I'll give you another 30 days. Right. And then if you don't do it, then you get fined.
Right. So, and that's statutory where you get a certain amount of time, 15, 30, 40, whatever. We usually do typically if it's junk or grass, we'll give them 15 days because you can do those things in 15 days. If it's something that needs a permit where you might have to get engineering, architectural, things like that, we'll give them longer because we know it'll take a little bit more time to get those and then submit for the permit. So, again, it's all based on what the violation is. Easy, quick ones, you usually get a smaller time period because they're easier and quicker to clean up. Then if they still don't do anything, then we move to a notice of affidavit. And that's basically when the fine starts. The orders always have a fine or abatement. So if it's junky, we can go in and clean it up if they don't do anything, or we can mow the lawns. We don't fix houses. We just do either the junk or safety things. So if there's blown out windows that need to be boarded up, we can go in and board them up.
So would it be safe to say that months go by before a fine would even come into play?
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe because then you have to have a hearing date set. So it could be potentially 4 months before it even makes it to a hearing examiner.
Easily.
Okay.
Hi, caller. You're on the air.
Is there any ordinances on the roofs? I've got some neighbors that tape, brick, use leftover bleach, plastic containers to do their roof, man. You talking about shabby looking?
Hang on. I stole your... Bob stole the connector when he left the studio.
Oh, okay.
Okay, go ahead. Could you repeat your question, please? I'm sorry.
Codes on the roofs. I've got a neighbor that is taping, wrapping, bricks, hundreds of bricks. It's got to be safety hazard. Is there an ordinance on the roofs whether they have to put a roof on or not, or do they wait till it caves in?
I'm not sure.
I guess it's a partially built house. Is that what you're saying?
No. These are 50-year-old houses built 61 off Midway. And they tarp them for years. She was up yesterday taping the holes in the roof. It's just dilapidated. Look.
Dilapidated house on Midway that's still got tarp on the roof.
Years. I've been there 5 years, and she does is add a brick, a tarp, or she starts to mask and tape the roof. But they look so horrible, you know. Nobody wants to paint or put any landscaping in, or they don't even clean the mold off the house.
Well, sir, this gentleman right here is going to give you the number to code enforcement, and you can make a phone call.
All right, so there is that. Okay, second option. What about the trees that grow over 15 feet into your yard, knock your fence down? Where I come from, the code is it can't be more than 5 feet on your property or they're responsible. But they told me that it's up to me to keep cutting this guy's trees.
If it's on your property, yeah.
That's correct. Because trees grow, that's nature. You can cut it at the property line. You can trim up, but we have about 80,000 vacant quarter-acre lots that are in various states of overgrowth.
Sure.
We'd be finding or we'd be notifying and dealing with people nonstop. We'd have to get taxpayer dollars for dozens of more code officers just to address that one issue.
Yeah, so get a chainsaw, buddy, and
sale. Yeah. Okay, I'll call a code. So there is something I can do about and then
the lady's roof. Yes.
Yeah, the roof.
Her carport is caved in. Her carport is even caved in.
Okay, yeah.
There's a chance that we have a case on that.
And what is the phone number, by the way, just for code compliance if somebody does have a complaint?
You'd have to ask me that when I'm not even halfway through my coffee.
I know I'm pretty good. I know your code enforcers. They come over. I talk to them. I know who they are.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, they're probably
go to the office.
But
I just go to the office.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the call. We have to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
That's a great radio.
He speaks at 9:29 on Hump Day Wednesday. We've got the commissioners in the house. We've got code compliance in the house. And phone lines are open, 941-206-1580. So if you could, and Joe and I talked about this last week because I was kind of wondering, you get a guy who just maybe 75, 80 years old, owns his home. He's in code violation, and he just doesn't care what you guys... Go ahead, do whatever you want.
Yep. Happens all the time.
I'm not compliant.
Yep. So basically, if we have an order for abatement, say it's junk, we go in and we remove the junk. If it's an order for abatement for grass, we'll go in and we'll mow the grass. We'll then put the liens on the property because code violation liens stay with the property. They don't follow property owners because they could skip town overnight and then the violation is still there. That's what a lot of people don't realize. They say, well, I bought it like this, so it's not my problem. Well, it is your problem, unfortunately. So what we
Which
do,
would also probably come up during
title
the
search.
Title search. So
unless it's low enough
cash
that
deal.
they pay cash, which happens that happens quite frequently, especially in the smaller, older houses where there are lower sale prices. Okay. We have a lot of programs in place where, the fines will keep accruing. We've got high levels of fines. They either get paid off at closing or once the property comes into compliance, could be 10 years, 20 years, whatever. We have lien reduction
Has that ever
programs.
gone that long?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, there are still some because if it's not a life safety issue, then it's really not much more we can do besides fine them because it's not life safety.
Yeah.
But we get those fines. If we've done abatement, the person would have to pay the hard cost, but then we remove all the other fines except for a small fee. I think the fee is about $1,000. So some people it's not small, but if you've got $30,000 worth of liens racked up, and you take that down to $1,000, and we have those in place so that again, we're not out to collect those huge amounts of fines. We just want the compliance. So come into compliance, and then those fines can be reduced down to that one fee and any hard costs that we've occurred.
Kind of ballpark, how many of these cases do you deal with on a monthly, on an annual basis?
We deal with about, I want to say from the last presentation I did, I think in 2018, we did, fiscal year 2018, we did about 2,500 cases. But of that, only about a tenth of them actually went before the magistrate, so about 250. So it's, again, we work with people to bring them into compliance. We're not out there to take them before the magistrate. On a given day, magistrate hearing, we probably have about maybe 24 affidavits of noncompliance, which is, yep, they still haven't fixed it, so we're putting the lien on the property. And we probably have about a dozen to highest maybe 2, because we don't typically get it. We do it A through Z for our agendas. Sorry, my mind is.
That's all right.
And so we're barely into double letters most of the time. So we probably have about a dozen new cases that go every month.
So out of all the violations written, only a small percentage actually make it to the code compliance hearing. And out of the ones that actually go to the hearing, many of those don't even result in a fine.
Right.
Because they're brought into compliance. So the number shrinks even more. And there were some other folks thinking, well, we operate under a quota system, and we're supposed to be out there writing fines. And
No, that's the sheriff's department.
Yeah, the sheriff does that. That's the sheriff, not us.
Yeah.
Hi, caller. Hi, caller. You on the air?
Well, I'm sure the sheriff loves hearing that.
We're all joking. Sheriff.
I know. Now, see, something that I'm just kind of curious about. I heard that last crusty old fella call in, and, I don't know if the house is abandoned or, maybe the person's going through some issue. But what do you do in cases, to where, say somebody lost their job or bad health and they're in a situation where they can't do it? You know what I mean? I was going to call in when he was on the phone. It's like, it sounds to me there's an issue. Did the neighborhood ever think about reaching out to this person, see if they could help them?
Right. That does happen quite a lot, and that's why we work with them to give them time. We can't go out as staff because that would be expending county tax dollars on private property. We can't do that. If it's a situation, say somebody has mental frailty or something, we can get them in touch, and we've done this before with Human Services to try and help them out. We get them people in touch with the Builders Association if it's something that needs a contractor. But a lot of it is time. If we keep giving them time, then they're able to slowly but surely get the violations cleared up.
Well, I just kind of want to throw that in there, especially with it being the Christmas holiday. That everybody does something that's going to annoy you at one time or another, and we've all annoyed someone at one time or another. But
I wouldn't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right. If somebody's going through a hard time, you might want to ask if you can help, instead of just sticking the authorities on them. Because once you do, that person could be battling cancer, they could have a death in the family or anything, and they just might need a helping hand instead of a letter. Just want to throw that out there for the holidays.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good point, caller. I know I was on Team Parkside. We had a housing subcommittee. And we had a program where it would be paint your heart out in Parkside and clean up, and it was just a bunch of volunteers who'd go around and help folks who couldn't do for themselves. And we'd get sponsorships like from Waste Management to help with the trash, and we'd actually clean up yards, paint houses, and it was all by donation. Because I know I donated paint and some other materials for that. So yeah, I appreciate that call. Anybody out there who sees a neighbor in need who can help, by all means, offer it. It goes a long way.
Yeah. Hi, caller. You're on the air.
I got a question.
Yes.
About a family who's living in a mobile home with no electricity or water.
Wow.
I mean, the meter was removed from the property, and they don't have any utilities at all.
Yeah.
No well, no septic. I mean, it's septic, but no well, no electricity, no heat. And they're still living in there.
That may be a human services call or 211. I think
it would be both.
Yeah.
Because you can't live in an RV on your property.
Yeah, well, it's not an RV. It's a mobile home, a manufactured home.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are some programs for people administered through the county, or we can point them in the right direction for housing assistance. It's like, they have some, maybe call it a bridge loan to help with utilities and things if somebody's in between jobs. There are programs through the HR department. And
They're all on welfare. They don't have any jobs. There's no way they could pay a loan.
Well, I say loan. It's describe it. It's a bridge assistance. I don't think it doesn't need to be repaid.
More like a grant.
Yeah, it's just some money we have to help the people that are in certain situations.
Oh, okay.
And if you call 211, I think that's the
I believe so. Yeah.
211 is our local line to help direct for those kind of services. So you can have them call the 211 helpline and with Human Services, and they should be able to see if there's anything available.
That's not really
for
my question. My question is it legal to live in that home with no electricity or water?
No, that would be a violation of the Florida Building Code. You're required to have water and electricity. It could be solar, it could be a generator, it could be any number of things, but you are required to have water, sewer, and electricity.
That's for sanitation.
Correct.
Yeah. Concerns. Yeah.
Yep.
So they would have to be red tagged?
Yeah. If you want to call over to Code Compliance, 743-1201, can send an email. You can do the Charlotte County app. There's a lot of ways to do it. Honestly, there probably is a chance that somebody already has called in on them. But without an address, I wouldn't be able to check that out. But
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this can be done anonymously because, through any code compliance issue, there's some folks who feel they don't want to put their information out because anytime you call into county and give them your name and address and number, that's a public record. And on we have a free Charlotte County app that will direct you to our website, and also up at the top there's a bar that says Submit Request. You click on it, and then there's a drop-down menu. You go to Community Development and click on that, and then there you could make a complaint or to the county anonymously or not, either way. And then it goes into the system, and it's got a tracking number, and you can follow it and see where we are in the process in terms of code complaint.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And just for reference, not you, but for the people out there listening, don't put your name and address and contact info if you want to stay anonymous. We've had many people do that and then say, I'd like to be anonymous. You're not anonymous.
Kind of late. All right.
Okay. Very good. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Hi, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, Ken. It's Earl.
Hey, Earl. What's going on?
I'm just thinking about building a shed on a lot, and I can't find the regulations for a small lawn shed, garden shed.
If it's 10 by 10, you don't need a permit.
Well, you need a zoning permit. You don't need a building permit,
okay.
but it still needs to meet Florida Building Code standards. You have to keep it within setbacks. So if you're on water, 20 feet from the rear, 7.5 from the sides. If you're just an internal lot in the rear is 10. You do need, if it's below 100 feet, like Commissioner said, you don't need a building permit, but you need a zoning permit, and we just verify that it's put in the right place.
Okay. So 10 by 10, relatively simple.
Yep.
Does it need to be anchored at a 10 by 10?
Yes. Yep. And usually they have all the instructions and cut sheets and things like that show how to properly anchor it.
Okay. Who do I call for that?
You would call the zoning department 743-1964.
And you can go online as well to our website. It'll give you a checklist on what you need for the application.
Okay.
I put a shed in my house about 6 months ago. It was $194. I'm not happy about the permit fee.
I'm not finding.
You should have just put a 10 by 10 in.
Yeah, I did a 12 by 24. It's a big one.
Okay.
It's a big one. I had a lot of junk in my garage. I wanted to put in the shed.
All right.
Before I got a code compliance for junk-like conditions, so I got the shed and hid it all.
Keep the garage door closed.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Earl. Merry Christmas.
All right. Merry Christmas to you.
Take care. 206-1580, toll free, 888-441-1580.
I complained to my commissioner about the fee, but he didn't want to hear me.
He didn't want to hear it.
He didn't want to hear
You
it.
were looking at him right in the mirror, too.
He told me, too bad, just pay the fee.
Just pay the fee.
Can't fight City Hall, you know.
Yeah. I know. I'm going to run for commissioner one day.
So bottom line, unless you really just could care less and you're a hoarder and you county's more than willing to work with. Now, also, we had several phone calls. There's people that just really enjoy watching the magistrate.
It is one of the highest rated shows.
Yes,
on
is that
TV.
still going to be on TV? They still going to televise that? Oh, good.
As far as I know,
Good.
Oh yeah.
We had some people concerned that it might not be televised anymore.
We don't want to lower our ratings.
That's right.
Are you kidding me?
Well, it might get picked up by another network. You never know.
We were actually talking about going pay-per-view.
Oh, you'd hear that.
That would be pretty fun. With Dave settling code compliance violations with just setting up a big ring and getting like sumo suits and just letting them go at it.
Yeah, you know,
Excuse me.
we had an issue which has been in the news at the Construction Industry Licensing Board with HD Homes.
Yes,
yeah,
those
that's
rat bastards.
Yeah. We had a lengthy discussion yesterday at the board meeting during commissioner comments about that, and you know, that's a real black eye for the community and for those poor folks who some of those stories were just gut wrenching.
Yeah, to where the subcontractors wouldn't get paid, so the subcontractors are dumping all the stuff in the front yard of the vacant, unbuilt house.
Yeah, and you know that license was a state issued license, so they have control over the licensing from issuance. But you know what we can do is things like suspend permitting, things like that. But from my accounting of what went on, the county wasn't made aware with formal complaints from homeowners until this whole thing collapsed. So it seemed like these builders were trying to lead the customers on that things are going to get better. Just bear with me, give me a little more time.
Next week. We'll be done next week.
Yeah,
Got a whole crew.
So most people just wanted their houses done. So I think they tried to work with the builder the best way they thought they could to get their house done. And
combined, we're looking at millions of dollars.
Potentially. I think as this thing unravels, we're going to find out how bad it really was and
these guys have already started another company under a different name, right?
Yeah, well, you know, one thing that the building department did is they sent memos out to all surrounding counties and jurisdictions, and I think even out of the state.
I believe they did, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, is anyone at the state level going to be
the complaint was filed with the state's attorney's office and the construction industry licensing, or the state Department of Business Professional Regulation, sorry.
DPR.
Yeah, they've all been notified, so it's in process at those various agencies. Those are outside our jurisdictions, obviously, and the sheriff's office locally has been notified, but that's being handled, I think, the state's attorney's office, and we'll see how that works its way back. But we're doing what we can now to stop this guy from doing, this builder and people affiliated with the builder from doing this to other people. So it's been pretty devastating for those folks.
Sounds like this guy needs to go for a boat ride.
Yeah. I mean, it was just the willfulness of what went on. It just was, you know, if you listen to those stories.
Yeah,
and some
very
of the things,
sad. Yeah, very sad to hear.
Very sad.
So again, CharlotteCountyFL.com or .gov or .org. It reroutes to wherever, and it'll take you right there to the website where you can look up code compliance, get all the numbers. You can also log on with your phone and download the app straight to your phone. So everything county government related regarding zoning and code compliance can all be handled right from the convenience of your phone or your desktop computer.
Yeah, and I just want to be clear that just, again, I still see so much misinformation that people are telling other people online and, you know, social media.
Well, I really think that Wink did a kind of a disservice to their viewers by putting out a story that made it sound like you guys were just jacking up the rates and got a new magistrate and everything going to be different now and we're buckling down.
Yeah. As the person that gave them that interview, I can assure you that is not what was portrayed.
Well, did you read it? Did you see it?
Oh,
did you read
did.
it? So you kind of got the same impression I did, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And
it is what it is. It's part of the job.
But I mean, the good news is very small amount of code compliance cases actually result in a fine.
Correct.
You know, on a percentage basis, is very small, and we're just not out there writing tickets. You know, it's kind of like lawyers. Everybody hates them till you need one. It's code.
This is true.
Yeah, it's like
It's true.
it's code compliance. You know, everybody wants to tell code compliance. They're the Nazis or whatever.
Evil.
You know, but when you need them, people call. And I've had, since I've been a commissioner, so many people call me. You know, why aren't you doing anything? And I actually have to explain to people that, look, people have property rights. We're not in the business to just go on people's properties and tell them how to run their lives. But there are certain thresholds where that are crossed where code compliance would come into play. I mean, I had people call me up because they didn't like all the toys their kids left in. I'm like, look, if someone wants to have the toys in the yard, that's not a code compliance issue. People have rights.
Right. We've gotten code compliance complaints about Christmas lights before.
Oh, well, that's a number you want to block, eh?
So I'm just saying, there's sometimes that,
a lot of
just certain things that we're not going to touch.
Yeah.
And I'll go out and do a drive-by myself because somebody will call me up and say, well, let me just take a look before I put something in the pipeline for code compliance. And I'll go by and I'm like, that's not, that's not a problem. And most of the calls I tell people there's nothing we can do. People have rights, so that's another thing, people are out there saying we're taking away property rights. That's the last thing we want to do. It's just there's certain thresholds statutorily that once they're crossed, that's when code compliance, it's for the health, safety, and welfare of the community, a lot of those code compliance issues. Like the caller, he said he sees a house with the carport caving in and the roof deteriorating.
That's a safety issue.
That's a safety issue.
And we have other mechanisms besides code enforcement, such as unsafe structures, things like that we can do on a faster process because that is life safety.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time, and thanks for educating us on code compliance. And again, folks, the app's right there available for you on your phone or on your desktop at home. Very easy to navigate unless you're looking for something really deep.
Yeah.
And then you call Joe.
And it's anonymous.
Because he'll knows where it is.
It's anonymous if you want it to be. So, there's
just don't give your name.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. We got to take another break. We'll be right back on News Radio 1580.
Today's show is brought to you absolutely free. Radio's the only thing.
Hey, Sheriff County, this is Sheriff County COPWATCH. I am using any video here under fair use if you have criticism, reporting, teaching, etc. And please donate. I do not make money from YouTube, and there are different ways to donate in the video links. Thanks.